You're perfect. You're golden. How often do you know that about yourself? How often do you embrace that about yourself? Or are you more often feeling like, well, maybe I'm not quite so perfect, not quite so golden? There are a bunch of cows in the pasture. And two of them were kind of near the fence as this big tanker truck went by. And on the side of the truck, it said milk. And then it said regular, chocolate, homogenized, pasteurized, grade A, fortified with vitamin D. And one cow turned to the other and said, "It makes you feel a little inadequate, doesn't it?" How often do the signs on the world's tanker truck make you feel a little inadequate? Not so perfect, not so golden. Today's talk is One Power, and you could not have picked a more powerful song to sing. It's perfect. And this is the first talk in a series of Unity's 5 basic principles. A principle is the underlying spiritual truth. So Unity's first principle, Dan, you have a picture of that, is one power and one presence. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotent. Let's say that together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotent. And omnipotent means there are no opposing powers. Not the power of the job market when I'm looking for a job. Not the power of the stock market or the economy when I'm wondering if I'm going to have enough money for retirement. Not the Republicans or the Democrats or any other political force. Not my ego or anyone else's ego. Not anything that I blame for my thoughts, words, and actions. They do not have power over me. Think of all the energy. Think of all the energy you invest in believing that other people or other things have power over you. And when you believe that, when you think that, how inadequate do you feel? The feeling of inadequacy can overpower us, can't it? But we don't have to buy into the signs on that big tanker of the world. We have a power within us to achieve and to excel and exceed in anything we choose. In John 6:35, Jesus said, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall not hunger. He who believes in me shall never thirst." There's one power, there's one source. And when I connect to it, it feeds my soul, quenches my thirst. It satisfies my needs. That one power, that source, is the very essence of all life, of all things. And it permeates everything in the universe and every cell in our body. And our greatest misperception is that we are separate from it. And that sense of separation leaves us feeling hopeless, helpless, and inadequate. And we can't imagine that we're golden, that we're perfect, that we're good enough to be one with the one. We can't imagine that we are here to be the vessel through which God expresses. And so in our illusion of separation, what do? We turn to the powers out there for help, for courage, for strength, for fulfillment. And when we do that, don't you find you're let down over and over again? Disappointed. This book is Lessons in Truth, and it's the core foundational text for unity. It's written by Emily Cady, and she's one of the first people of 100 years ago that started what we call this new thought, this new way of looking at the Bible. And she writes in here, I want to stimulate you to lose sight of all differences, all side issues, and lesser things, and seek but one thing. That is the consciousness of the presence of an indwelling God in you and in your life. How do we do that? How do we seek that consciousness of the one power? Especially when we're worrying, when we're anxious, panicky, a little frantic. Our lives today are very fast-paced, aren't they? And so what do? We go as fast as we can to keep up with it. And we look to others. We look out to the outer world to rescue us at times. And finally, when we're worn out and when we're exhausted, when we have no one else to turn to, when we give up, that's when we finally connect to God. You hear the saying, have to hit bottom, right? So I was in Michigan, and it was January. You know, they have heated garages because your car probably won't start. The river totally freezes over. I mean, the city happens out there on the lake. And I was there to support my business and personal partner who entered into an addiction recovery program in a large rehab center there. And it was a day program. He would go during the day and come home at night. Well, one day he didn't come home. And I knew that in the middle of the program he had gone out and used. And his typical pattern was he would be gone for probably about 3 days. And so I was in Michigan in January with no car, with no friends. And it was night. And I was alone. And so I turned to the outer world for comfort. I called my friends on the East Coast and talked to them until it got too late to call them. And then I called my friends. I traveled a lot, so I had friends everywhere in the middle of the states until it was too late to talk to them. Then my friends on the West Coast, and then it was just too late to call anyone. And I felt that I was backed into a corner. And I turned around, and there was God. When I experienced the one power and one presence many times, since my early 20s I've been meditating, but that experience was always during a time of meditation, walking in nature, out in the ocean. Never, never, never had I had that experience in the middle of total distress. And that experience changed my life and my relationship with God forever. I know without a doubt that that power and that presence is always there. And the only thing that separates me from it is me. Emmett Fox wrote this little pamphlet called The Golden Key. And in it he wrote, "Whenever anything troubles you, rather than ruminating on your worry, think instead of God." It's pretty clear, isn't it? But what do? How often do we remember to do that? Because when I'm focusing on God, when I'm focusing on the one power, what happens is I eliminate the need for any other power, any lesser power. When I'm focusing on the one presence, I eliminate the need for any other presence. I don't have to have somebody else near me or around me. So, how do we do it? How do we focus on? How do we connect to something that's invisible, that we can't see, that we can't touch? You do it all the time. You live in a world where you accept it as an everyday practice. Our church has Wi-Fi. Let me read you the definition of Wi-Fi. A facility allowing computers, smartphones, or other devices to connect to the internet or communicate with one another wirelessly. We can't see it, we can't feel it, we can't touch it. There's no wires. And we trust it with everything, don't we? At this moment, right where you're sitting, it's all around you, isn't it? A wireless connection that's available to you, and you can't see it or touch it, but it's there. You just need the right type of receiver to pick up the signal, right? Then you have to turn that receiver on, don't you? After you turn to the right setting, and then you connect to it. And you have to do all those things to be able to use its full potential, everything it can do for you. You live with this, don't you? I mean, I just got my first iPhone. I'm still trying to figure it out. Thank you, John, for helping me. Thank you, Kayla, for helping me. But isn't it amazing? I mean, we hold this thing in our hand, and it just connects us everywhere. And we trust it. We believe in it. At this moment, right where you're sitting, is a wireless connection to the one power. It's available to you. You can't see it. You can't touch it. But it's there. You are the receiver. All you have to do is turn on, tune in, and connect to have access to its full potential. You can never not be connected. You know those nights when you twist and turn and you can't sleep because you're worried about something? The connection's there. How about when you're nervous, you're tense, you've got a job interview or a court date or a test? It's there. What about if you're in the hospital or in the doctor's office and you're feeling alone and afraid? It's right there with you. If you're struggling in a family situation, whatever emergency, whatever problem, whatever challenge you're going through, instead of fighting, resisting, and straining from your human mind, from your ego, remind yourself, all I've got to do is get quiet. All I have to do is be still. I have a connection. I have a connection to the one source, to the one power, to all the help I need, to an information network bigger than Google or Bing. If you're lost, Connect, and you'll receive directions. If you're confused, connect. You'll receive guidance. If you have questions, connect, and you will receive answers. You trust your phone, don't you, to do that? God is so much more powerful than that phone. Jesus said, the kingdom of God is where? Within you. We hear it, we say it. It's not just in this room, that God energy. It's not in any other church. It's not just in me, not just in you. It's in everyone, everywhere. Everyone, everywhere. It's in that person that bugs you, whether they realize it or not, whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not. It's within everyone, everywhere. It's all through Nepal at this time, in every person there. It's everywhere present in Baltimore, in every person there. When I can get that, when I can really get that, no matter what is happening in this world, no matter how big the tragedy, when I know that there's only one power, and that power is everywhere present and in everyone, that is the highest spiritual awareness I can attain. Do you hear that? Because what does it do? It helps you release all the concerns, all the worries. You are immersed in that one power. I was going to do an experiment, and I wrote it out of the talk, but I guess I'm going to share it, and you're not going to see the experiment. But if you take a sponge and you wet it, and then you squeeze all the water out of it, and then you put it in the water again, what happens? It absorbs it, doesn't it? So if you take all those negative thoughts and you squeeze them out of your mind, when it lets go, it immediately is immersed in God energy. You get that? When I rid myself of all that negative thinking, in that void, God energy rushes in. But I can't make that connection when I've got my brain filled with all the worldly powers. So we're going to say some affirmations. Dan, are you ready? If your desire is for health, I'm going to put that affirmation up, Dan. There is only one presence and one power within me, the presence and power of God's healing life. Let's say that together. There is only one presence and one power within me, the presence and power of God's healing life. So close your eyes. Whatever you have going on physically or mentally within you, know that right now the presence and power of God's healing life is moving through you. Every atom, every cell in your body is being charged. You are immersed. You are immersed in that energy. Every atom and cell in your body is being charged and recharged with new life, new strength, and vitality. Take a breath. Breathe it in. The presence and power of God's healing life is within me. And then take a breath, open your eyes. And if your desire is for love, Let's affirm. There is only one presence and one power in my life. The presence and power of God's love. God's love. And close your eyes. If you are having challenges in relationships, if you are feeling inadequate, less than, the presence and power of God's life moves through you now. Love flows through your thoughts. The words you speak will become loving, gentle, kind. Your actions and reactions will be peaceful, harmonious. The presence and power of God's love moves through you now, and your thoughts become loving and kind. Take a breath, breathe it in, affirm it. And open your eyes. There is only one power and one presence in our life. Dan, the last one, please. I give thanks. My world is blessed with good. Do you read that, please? There is only one power and one presence in my life. I give thanks. My world is blessed with good. Whatever chaos, whatever obstacles, whatever trials and tribulations, you have the power within you to move through them, to rise above them, to succeed at any goal. You're perfect. You're golden. You're adequate, no matter what that world tanker says. So this week, if things get a little crazy, you get tangled in the inferior thinking. You got that one? Remember, you are the receiver. Turn on, tune in, and connect to the one power. God bless you.